Look, I'm going to be straight with you. That bike setup that felt perfect when you were 35? It's probably killing you now. I spent 20 years riding sport bikes with aggressive ergonomics, and by the time I hit 52, I had constant numbness in my hands, lower back pain that wouldn't quit, and wrist pain so bad I was popping ibuprofen before every ride. Then I made 5 specific changes. Not expensive upgrades, just smart ergonomic adjustments, and cut that wrist pain by 80% in 2 weeks. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what I did, and more importantly, why it works when your body isn't 25 anymore. Welcome back to Ride Secrets. If you're over 50 and you're tired of fighting your motorcycle instead of enjoying it, this video is going to change how you ride. We're covering 5 ergonomic secrets that most riders never think about until they're already in pain. And here's the thing. These aren't about riding less or giving up the bikes you love. This is about making intelligent adaptations so you can ride more, ride better, and extend your riding years by actually listening to what your body needs. We'll start with handlebar geometry that saves your wrists and shoulders, move to seat positioning that acts like a pressure valve for your back, dial in foot controls for pain-free knees, tune your suspension to stop punishing aging joints, and finish with wind management that eliminates the fatigue you didn't even know was draining you. Then I'll give you a 10-minute garage routine to lock it all in. Let's get into it. First secret, handlebar geometry. This is where most older riders are silently suffering and don't even realize the bars are the problem. Here's what's happening. When you're younger, you can get away with overreach and low bars because your wrists, shoulders, and core can handle supporting your upper body weight for hours. But as you age, that same setup starts loading your wrists incorrectly, your hands go numb, you develop a death grip on the throttle, and your inputs get slower because you're fighting tension the entire ride. I was there. I couldn't even make it an hour without my hands going completely numb. The fix isn't just about comfort, it's about control. You want handlebar sweep, rise, and pull back that put your wrists in a neutral position with a slight bend in your elbows. Not locked out, not fully bent, slight. Here's how you find your natural grip position. Stand next to your bike, close your eyes, and extend your arms forward like you're about to grab the bars. Don't think about it, just let your hands find where they naturally want to be. Open your eyes, that's your target position. Your bars should match that posture, not force you into some aggressive crouch your body doesn't want anymore. For most upright bikes, you're looking at riser options between 20 and 40 millimeters of additional height and pullback. If you're on a sport bike or standard, pivoting. Risers let you fine-tune the angle without drilling new holes. I went with 30 millimeter risers on my bike, and the difference was immediate. My wrist went from bent backwards under load to neutral, and that numbness? Gone within the first 20-minute ride. Width matters too. A lot of guys think wider is always better for leverage, but if you're getting shoulder pain, try narrowing your bars slightly. You'll still have plenty of leverage for low-speed control, but your shoulders won't be fighting that constant spread. I went down from 800 millimeters to 760, and it took the strain right out of my trapezius muscles. Now don't forget your controls. Rotate your brake and clutch levers so they're in line with your forearms when you're in your natural riding position. Not angled up, not angled down, in line. Set them so you can reach the levers with one finger easily, with just 1 to 2 millimeters of free play before engagement. If you're pulling with 2 or 3 fingers, you're gripping too hard and loading your forearms unnecessarily. And here's a small upgrade that makes a huge difference. Slightly larger diameter grips with gel pads. The bigger diameter spreads the load across your palm instead of concentrating pressure on a narrow area. Combined with quality gloves that have gel padding in the right spots, this alone can cut hand fatigue by 30 or 40%. 2 mistakes I see all the time. First, guys going maximum pullback thinking more is better, but that actually kinks your wrist in the opposite direction. You want neutral, not reverse strain. Second, bars too high. Yes, higher bars usually help, but go too far and you lose front-end feel, especially during aggressive cornering or emergency braking. There's a sweet spot, and you find it by testing in 10mm increments. Get your wrist neutral and you'll feel the relief immediately. But wrists are only part of the equation. Your entire riding posture starts from one place, the seat. Secret 2, your seat is either your back's best friend or its worst enemy. And most riders have no idea their seat is set up wrong until the damage is already done. Here's why this matters. Your pelvic tilt drives everything in your lower back. If your seat is too tall, too soft, or tilted wrong, you're forced into a slouch that compresses your lumbar vertebrae and strains the muscles along your spine. Over time, that turns into chronic pain that doesn't go away when you get off the bike. I dealt with this for 3 years before I figured out what was actually causing it. What you want is a neutral pelvis with a slight hip hinge forward. Your knees should be bent at roughly 90 to 110 degrees, and your feet should be either flat on the ground or at least a confident tiptoe. Not struggling, not tiptoeing on one foot, and hoping the bike doesn't lean the wrong way. If your bike is too tall, you've got 2 options: lowering kits that drop the suspension, or reshaping the foam to reduce seat height without compromising knee angle too much. I went with a foam reshape, took out about 20 millimeters of foam and had it professionally recontoured. Cost me $150, and it was worth every penny. But don't go crazy and drop it so much that your knees are crammed up. That just trades back pain for knee pain. Now seat tilt. This is huge and almost nobody talks about it. Most seats come level or slightly nose down from the factory. Nose down feels sporty, but it makes you slide forward constantly, which means you're bracing with your arms and loading your wrists and shoulders all over again. Try tilting your seat slightly nose up, 3 to 6 millimeters at the front mounting bolts. Use shims or adjust the bracket if your bike has one. That little angle change stops the forward slide and lets your pelvis sit back into the seat where it belongs. Foam density is another game changer. Plush gel pads feel great in the showroom, but on a long ride they bottom out and create pressure points. You want firm, supportive foam that spreads your weight evenly. When I switched from a gel seat to a custom firm foam seat, my hot spots disappeared. I'm talking about being able to ride 3 hours without that burning sensation on my sight bones. If you're dealing with perineal pressure or numbness, and a lot of guys over 50 are, even if they don't want to talk about it, look for seats with relief channels or cutouts. Add a breathable cover to reduce heat buildup. This isn't just about comfort, it's about blood flow and nerve health. For bikes where you're more upright, standards, tourers, ADVs, consider a small lumbar rise built into the back of the seat. It gives you something to brace against during acceleration without forcing you into a constant arch. My touring bike has this, and it's a total back saver on long highway stretches. And seat width matters. Your sit bones need support, not the soft tissue between them. If you don't know your sit bone width, you can measure it. Sit on a piece of corrugated cardboard for a minute, measure the distance between the 2 pressure points, and add about 20 millimeters. That's your target seat width. 2 big mistakes: oversoft gel pads that feel like heaven for 20 minutes and hell for 2 hours, and nose down tilt that makes you fight gravity the entire ride. Get your seat dialed in, and your spine will thank you. But your legs need to be in the conversation too. Secret 3: foot controls and pegs. This is where knee pain, ankle strain, and slow brake response all come from, and most riders never connect the dots. Here's the issue. Stock footpeg positions are designed for average height riders in their 20s and 30s. If you're older, and especially if you've got any knee issues, arthritis, old injuries, whatever, tight knee angles and misaligned controls will light up your joints every single ride. I'm talking about that ache that starts after 30 minutes and doesn't stop for 2 days. You want your knees at an angle between 100 and 120 degrees. Not crammed up tight, not fully extended. That range gives you comfort, circulation, and the ability to actually use your legs for control, not just let them dangle. For most bikes, lowering blocks are your friend. 15 to 30 millimeters makes a massive difference. You can buy these for most popular models for 30 to 60 bucks, and they bolt right on. I dropped my pegs 25 millimeters and my knee angle went from 85 degrees, which was killing me, to about 105. Night and day. If vibration is getting to your feet and ankles, look for pegs with rubber isolation or add dampers. Long highway miles with constant vibration will fatigue your legs faster than you realize, and it creeps into your lower back too. Now, brake pedal height. This is critical for safety. You want your brake pedal set so you can cover it without dorsiflexion strain? That's pointing your toes up unnaturally. If your ankle is bent up just to rest on the pedal, you're going to be slow in an emergency. Adjust the pedal height and consider a larger brake pad if your boot size makes it hard to find the pedal consistently. Shifter adjustment is just as important. Set the linkage for your boot thickness. You want a short throw and a positive feel, not hunting for the shifter with your toe. If your bike supports a quick shifter and you're having trouble with precise shifts because of ankle stiffness, it's worth the investment. Takes the clutch and timing precision out of the equation. For street riders, mid-controls are usually the best compromise between sportiness and back health. Forward controls can feel relaxed, but they limit your ability to weight the pegs and use your legs for active riding. Rear sets are too aggressive unless you're still tracking your bike. If you're on an ADV bike and you stand frequently, peg height needs to work with your bar height. You want to be able to stand with your hips slightly back and your spine neutral, not hunched over or arched back. Cleated pegs give you the grip you need without a death grip on the bars. One big mistake: lowering pegs without checking cornering clearance. If you scrape your pegs and turns now, lowering them will make it worse. You might need to adjust your lean angle or riding style to compensate. Get your legs dialed in, and you'll ride smoother, brake better, and arrive without that deep knee ache. But there's one more physical system you need to address: how your bike absorbs impacts. Secret 4: suspension setup. This is the one area where most riders just ride whatever the factory said, and the factory set it for a theoretical average rider, not you. Here's the truth. Stock suspension settings almost never match your actual weight, especially after 50 when a lot of us are carrying a few more pounds than we did at 30. And aging joints do not tolerate harsh impacts the way they used to. Every pothole, every expansion joint, every rough patch sends a spike through your wrists, elbows, and spine. That harshness equals pain and fatigue, and it's cumulative over a long ride. You need to set your sag first. That's how much the suspension compresses under your weight. For street bikes, you're typically targeting 30 to 35% of total travel. Sit on the bike in your riding gear, have someone measure from a fixed point on the fork, or shock to the axle, then compare that to the measurement when the bike is unloaded. The difference is your rider sag. If you're maxing out your preload adjustment and still not hitting the right sag numbers, you need stiffer springs. Period. No amount of damping adjustment will fix a spring rate problem. I learned this the hard way. I was cranking down preload, trying to get my sag right, and all I did was make the suspension harsh. Swapped in springs that matched my weight, set the preload to the middle of the range, and suddenly both comfort and control improved. Damping is next. Too much compression damping and every bump jars you. Too little rebound damping and the bike pogos, bouncing you around and unsettling mid-corner. Most bikes have clickers or adjusters. Start from the baseline setting in your owner's manual, then adjust 2 clicks at a time and test on a road with bumps, Well, you're looking for a settled, supple feel. The suspension soaks up hits without bouncing you or jarring you. And don't forget tire pressure. I see guys chasing suspension problems when their tires are overinflated by 10 psi because they read the max pressure on the sidewall. Check your owner's manual for the correct pressure for your load. Overinflated tires amplify every bit of harshness before the suspension even gets involved. If you're riding 2 up or carrying luggage, add preload to compensate, but mark your preferred settings with a paint pen or tape so you can return to your solo setup easily. I've got 3 marks on my shock: solo, with passenger, and full luggage. Takes me 30 seconds to dial it in. One big mistake: trying to fix a spring problem with damping. If your bike is sagging too much or bottoming out, you need springs, not more compression damping. And ignoring fork dive. If your bike dives hard under braking, you probably need more preload or stiffer springs up front, not just more compression damping. Get your suspension right for your weight, and your whole body relaxes. Impacts get softer, your hands stop gripping so hard, and your back stops tensing up every time you see a rough patch. But there's one more fatigue source most riders ignore completely: the wind. Secret 5: wind management. If you're riding at highway speeds and you don't think wind is affecting you, I promise you're wrong. It's just happening so constantly that you've stopped noticing how much energy you're burning fighting. Turbulence. Here's what's actually happening. Buffeting hits your helmet and chest, your neck muscles engage to stabilize your head, your hands grip harder to brace against the pressure, and after an hour of that, you're exhausted. You think it's just part of riding at 70 miles per hour. It's not. It's poor wind management. The fix isn't just about windscreen height. It's about managing the airflow. You want either a clean laminar stream going over your head or smooth air hitting your chest, depending on your bike style. What you absolutely don't want is turbulent air shaking your helmet. For bikes with adjustable windscreens, try different heights and angles. Add a small spoiler at the top edge if you've got helmet buffet. I added a 2-inch spoiler to my touring screen, angled it back slightly, and that shaking that was giving me headaches disappeared completely. Here's something most guys don't know: pressure balance. When you're tucked behind a windscreen, you're sitting in a low pressure zone. That vacuum pulls at you and creates instability. Adding side deflectors or opening lower vents equalizes the pressure and makes everything calmer. BMW figured this out years ago with their adjustable vent systems, but you can retrofit similar solutions on most bikes. If you're on a naked bike or a standard, sometimes less is more. A small fly screen that directs air to your chest can actually be smoother than a tall screen that creates turbulence. And reduce the peak on your helmet if it's catching wind. Some guys swear by aerodynamic helmets with minimal spoilers. Don't underestimate gear either. A snug neck roll or soft collar stabilizes your neck without restricting movement. And earplugs, I know, not technically wind management, but they reduce the perceived effort of fighting wind noise, which means you arrive less fatigued. One mistake I see: guys mounting huge windscreens thinking bigger is better, but creating a low-pressure rumble that's worse than the buffeting they were trying to fix. Test before you commit. And if you're on an ADV bike, handguards aren't just for rocks, they cut crosswind pressure on your hands significantly. Get the air calm and your body relaxes. Your neck stops tensing, your grip loosens, and you can actually ride for hours without that deep fatigue you didn't realize was coming from wind. Alright, you've got the 5 secrets. Now here's how you actually implement them without spending all weekend in the garage guessing. I call this the Quick Fit Blueprint, a 10-minute routine that dials in your ergonomics systematically. You're going to go through a sequence: bars, levers, seat tilt, pegs, controls, and mirrors. Each one gets confirmed by checking your posture. Here's the posture cue you're checking against every time. Tall spine, soft elbows, shoulders down, neutral wrists, and your feet should feel light on the pegs. Not bracing, not holding yourself up. If any part of that feels wrong, you adjust the nearest component. Before you change anything, use tape or a paint pen to mark your current positions. Change one thing at a time in small increments. Test, then commit. Don't adjust 5 things at once or you won't know what actually helped. Your test loop has 2 parts: parking lot figure 8s at low speed to check control and leverage, then a 15-minute highway stint to check comfort and wind. After each loop, ask yourself: numbness, hot spots, neck strain? Can I cover the brake easily? Is the shifter positive? I've had students who cut hand numbness by 80% just by fixing their lever angle and seat tilt in one session. Small changes compound. A few millimeters here, a couple degrees there, and suddenly your bike fits you instead of fighting you. 2 big mistakes in this process. First, changing everything at once. You lose track of what's actually working. Second, not retorquing bolts after riser or peg adjustments. Vibration will loosen things, and loose handlebars are dangerous. Check your bolts after the first ride, then again after 50 miles. Run this routine seasonally, and definitely run it when your body changes or when you switch to different gear. Your winter jacket adds bulk. Your summer gear is thinner. Adjust accordingly. Here's the bottom line: intelligent adaptations beat brute endurance every single time. You don't need to tolerate pain, and you definitely don't need to ride less just because you're older. You need to fit the bike to your changing body. Start with your handlebars and seat tilt this week. Get those two dialed in and you'll see immediate improvement. Then move to your pegs, suspension, and wind management over the next month. If you want more detailed model-specific setups and an advanced fit clinic, hit that subscribe button. Next video, we're covering safer braking techniques specifically for aging riders, reaction time changes, how to compensate, and the 2-finger versus 4-finger debate you need to hear. Drop a comment and tell me which ergonomic issue is killing you right now. Wrists? Back? Knees? Let's talk about it. Ride smart, not harder. I'll see you in the next one.